Have you got COVID? Would you like fries with that? We'll even supersize your drink.
They didn't give me fries when I got COVID.
Well, I can tell you that this is all about control. People in control love to have things to control because the disease itself has proven to be sort of a flop.
It's
Andrew
mild.
Cuomo
It's
is
mild, and if you're endangered, then you just
He
get
sh-
protected. You get the
Cuomo
vaccination.
should go to prison for sending all of those active younger COVID patients to that nursing home that killed what? Another 20, 30, 40,000 ended up with it.
Right.
But I've got first-hand information, okay? I've got a friend. She's 43 years old. She's in good shape. She got COVID. She's a school teacher. She didn't even really stay in bed. She would lay down, take a cup of aspirin, take a break. She's tested negative now for 3 days, and it was 7 days when they told her she first had it. My daughter had it. Got it on Thanksgiving, went to a big party. She said the flu made her feel worse. She
Right.
said the worst thing about COVID was that she had to stay in one room. And she said that nearly drove her nuts.
Just the isolation.
Yes, but not the actual, oh, God, my head's hurting so bad or any of
The
that
fever.
stuff.
Well,
nothing.
I mean, I do, and I think most people do know people who've lost family members
Of
over
course.
this. Yeah, yeah.
It's,
But it seems like lately it's been a lot more mild, like the effects that have been coming through with it. Like I haven't heard
Yeah. The
in
numbers are increasing, and there's the
number
fear
of people
this.
with the virus.
Yeah, and there's this fear of the Omicron and what's it going to do. But there's this funny meme out there, and it talks about, who's killed more people, Alec Baldwin or Omicron? Alec Baldwin won,
Well,
Omicron 0. So
Really?
yeah, there's nobody in America that has died up to this point of Omicron. So
the first time it was released out of Africa, the virologist down there, the guy that broke the story, he said, and this is in South Africa, a black doctor, I saw it. He said the symptoms are less weaker than a regular cold.
right.
He said you might run a mild fever, you might have a cough, but he says there's nothing to it. This is a non-story. Guess where that went? They set that on fire. It's gone. And now we've got another pandemic coming. And I'll tell you what in my opinion, the big driver is, because I put it together, it hit me. Today, Fauci said, well, I think we're all going to have to get used to having a yearly booster.
Oh yeah.
Now,
or more than that, every 6
do you-
months, 2 boosters a year.
Well, do you know how many billions of dollars that's going to generate for AstraZeneca and Pfizer?
Yeah.
We're talking about money beyond comprehension here being funneled through the Vatican to different governments around the world.
Yeah.
It's absolutely turned into one of the most corrupt schemes that I have ever seen in
And
my life.
of course, Omicron comes out, and 2 days later, Pfizer CEO comes out and says, "Oh yeah, our vaccine will stop it.
Yeah.
we'll protect you
So-
against."
Well, so I heard that the latest surge is the Delta variant. Like I heard there aren't that many confirmed cases of Omicron
Oh yeah, I
in
think
the United States.
California just had its first Omicron case.
Yeah. But there is, like, COVID does seem to be surging again,
Well, and as expected, like when it gets cooler, more cold and flu season type
Yeah.
thing. This is just like that, similar. You're going to see spikes.
But they're canceling events left and right.
Yeah, I saw last
I mean,
night
it's
they
like-
canceled Cornell University, their finals. In the middle of finals, they went to virtual finals, which I didn't even understand that. How do you take a test?
I'm very
Exam.
grateful that when COVID
Open book test.
the spring March of 2020 was that when COVID started a year and a half ago, that was when I was taking my last class for graduate school.
Yeah.
And my final, I got to take it home, and
Right.
I made an A in that class.
Yeah.
And graduated.
And the other wonderful thing, or the thing I think that is so cool about it, there's one person in the United States that's got a great grip on it, and he's pure common sense. He's pure logic, and his name is Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
Florida is looking good.
Right.
They have no problems down there. Life goes on, and they're smoking it. And Christy Whitmire, who is the queen of COVID lockdowns, they've got the highest rate. And do you know where all the highest rate, some of the lowest rates of getting the vaccination are in the United States?
Texas and Florida?
No, Vermont, Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, where all the smart college, Ivy League people are. They've got rates lower than Alabama. We're in the 40s. They're up in the 10s and the 15s up there.
Really? They're just not buying into it?
No.
Well, I mean, explain to me how, like, Cornell University, they have 98% vaccination, but then they shut down because the virus is spiking.
Yeah.
So
and now they're telling you, too, that
the
even
virus
though
is not, the vaccination is a therapeutic. It's not a vaccination. It's not working.
And one guy came out today, and I just thought the audacity. He got on the television. I think Camilla was in front of him. And then he got up and said something. He said, "This Christmas, even if you got both vaccinations," he said, "you wear your mask. You understand? Wow. You wear your mask, even if you have both vaccinations while it's your Christmas family dinner."
I heard Fauci say we have to watch about even seeing family over Christmas. And make sure they're vaccinated if you do, and wear a mask. So it's all about control, and people have to see through this, because like this story, Omicron, it breaks the slowest news story week of the year, which was Thanksgiving week. All of a sudden, there's this new variant.
Well, the good news, we represent the 99%. And they got away with a hell of a lot 9 months ago. They're getting away with a hell of a lot less right now. So many. Did you see where what was it? Yeah, I think the National Guard in Nevada or Utah, the governor said, "Screw you, Mr. President. I'm not giving my National Guard. They don't have to do shit. They're not giving them the shot." He said, forget it.
The federal contractor vaccine mandate keeps getting shut down in courts. So
yeah, like you don't like it, send the U.S. Army down here. I mean, it's on its way out, and I'll tell you one thing that's going to happen. They had the audacity last year when all the old and the infirm, so many people died in the New York City area on those ships, and what they did was criminal. Kumo ought to be up for murder, but so many of them died out between their 60s, 80s, and 90s that would still be alive today if they hadn't have gotten it. Don't get me wrong, but they reported that they had the lowest record number of flu cases ever in like 10 years. And I thought, well, yeah, no shit. They mostly died from that. Watch what's going to happen. I guarantee you the flu cases will be extremely low and deaths will be way down because all the high-risk people got taken out.
Well, the other question about this, why are there more deaths in 2021 than 2020 when we've had this vaccine in 2021 the whole year, and there's more deaths than there's ever been? So.
Yeah. Well, poor old Ivermectin, they've got the cure. Ivermectin, they've got the cure, and they're getting blocked out by the big pharma.
There was a story on the forum about this where UPS is actually stopping the shipment of it. The FDA is.
Yeah.
But so, if you say that that COVID deaths are higher this year than they were last year, but that gives some reasoning behind, telling people to stay separated, right?
That's the thing, is that there were lockdowns. There's been lockdowns throughout in 2020 and 21, but we can't just hide forever.
I agree with that. Yes,
we have to move on with our lives.
I mean, yes,
and that's why we've got video here. Clay Travis, he talks about it's time to start treating COVID like the flu.
Yeah,
but, we can't shut down for everything, and it's not going away. This is never going away. This is like the flu. It's just going to be reoccurring. There's going to be 4 different shots you can get to protect yourself. We don't know if it's going to work. It's more of a therapeutic, and it might prevent you from severe illness, but we're not going to shut down. So you see the NBA, he's going to talk about it, but they had so many people on COVID protocol that they can't even play the games at NBA, and it's just contact tracing, and they treat it like it's just going to go away in 6 months, but it's not going away.
My stance is, I believe COVID's dangerous. I believe that there are things that we can do to reduce risk. You
Right.
know,
Get vaccinated. I mean,
get
if
vaccinated,
you're high
stay
risk.
separated, wear masks. You know, I do believe that there's tangible value to those things. However, at this point in civilization, in society, we have to move on, is my opinion.
We
don't,
have to become Florida.
That's my opinion.
You can't have
I'm
life without livelihood.
I'm not trying to play down anything.
Or you can't
And
have a-
people should be able to choose whatever treatment they want, or any with the ivermectin. People should immediately have an option to use that. They should be able to, procure that for themselves. It's just a matter of time till all that gets put as like a controlled substance, And, but anyways, I do believe that there is reason and logic behind these practices. However, I also firmly believe that it's just time to.
But
Time to
Florida
move on.
never locked down at all, and they have the lowest rates in the country. So explain that.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see some deeper statistics on things
mean,
before.
there's
Oh, I've read a ton of statistics
There's
on
numbers
Florida.
out there on that backing that
They,
up.
they look like they're on another planet
Yeah.
almost. No kidding.
Florida
It's
and
that
Texas
low.
are way better than California, who keeps locking down throughout the pandemic. Still not having school in person.
What they allowed to develop is what a lot of people called for in the very beginning, and that is herd immunity. They're allowing the wind to blow, people
Natural
to breathe,
immunity.
people get sick, people don't get sick, people get the virus, they fight it off, and they don't get sick at all from it, et cetera, et cetera.
But people
And-
get sick and die.
Hey, look what happened
Yeah.
when Mr. Cortez visited South America. He killed everybody
You can't-
with
Smallpox.
You can't hide forever. And
Yeah.
you can't telework from everything. And making people wear a mask at work when other people in your city aren't wearing masks at all when you go pump gas or go out to eat or anywhere makes
So-
no sense. Like you're trying to set some example.
So I am on board with we can't hide anymore. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and
It's
people
just gonna
can't
keep
people
mutating.
can't be forced into any more vaccinations or boosters. If you want a booster, get boosted. But the coronavirus existed before COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to continue to exist. There's going to be infinite numbers of variants. If you want to stay at home and protect yourself, there's so many food delivery services and grocery delivery services and jobs where you can work from home. So do that,
Yeah.
And if you want to go out
if
and
you're high risk, do that.
if you want to go out and participate, it's time to get back to life. But what does Clay Travis have
Yeah,
to
let's
say
check
about
out
this?
I want to hit you with some of the latest numbers that are out there as sports are becoming an interesting prism, an interesting window into the overall collapse of double vaccines. Let me repeat this. Sports leagues, NHL, NBA, NFL, all have 95% plus of their overall players, support staff, everybody vaccinated, yet the number of people testing positive for COVID right now is skyrocketing. I just want to hit you with some of the stuff.
So I can get on board with that as well. That he nailed it. The whole double vaccination is going to stop. I remember all the let's get back to normal. Everybody get vaccinated so we can get back to normal. Everybody get vaccinated so we can get back to normal.
Now let's get your booster so we can get back to normal.
Well, and I
they're
mean,
going to redefine what being fully vaccinated is.
complete collapse of the two vaccination solution. He nailed it. Yeah.
That has happened
Skyrocketing.
in the last couple of days. Toronto Raptors, Thursday game has been postponed. Calgary Flames, 3 games postponed. Chicago Bulls, 2 games postponed. Current outbreaks in the NBA at the Charlotte Hornets, the Nets, and the Knicks. Tottenham Hotspurs across the pond in the EPL. Also, Miami Dolphins' entire running backfield currently out with COVID.
Wow.
The LA Rams in the last hour, after having 5 starters, I believe, not able to play because of COVID, have just shut down their facility. Same thing has happened with the Lakers, and the Cleveland Browns have announced that they have 8 different players in the COVID protocol.
including
What
their
is
quarterback,
going on?
Baker Mayfield.
I'll tell you in a moment what needs to happen, but what's going on is significant because sports is oftentimes the canary in the coal mine. Remember when we shut down everything, which now we kind of recognize was a total disaster, back in March of all the way back in
For like one case in Utah, there was a game going on. They shut down everything. I remember I was at spring training, and in the middle of the game, they stopped the game in the 7th inning and said no more baseball.
This is in March?
Yeah, March of 20. And it was all based on these one NBA guy that tested positive for COVID, and they just freaked out and shut everything down. And who would have known that the season wouldn't even start again until, I think it was July, right, of 20, the MLB season?
2020, almost 2 years ago now. It was because primarily of the outbreaks that we were seeing in the world of sports, particularly in Oklahoma City. Now what we're seeing is the sports leagues all are where Joe Biden and Dr. Fauci is telling you that if we were all there, COVID wouldn't be an issue in this country. Except the NFL, the NBA, and the NHL are all having to cancel games because so many of the young, healthy players in those leagues are testing positive for COVID. So, what should happen? I made this argument yesterday, and I was the first person with any kind of audience that I had seen make this argument. But I am going to keep beating this drum. We have to stop treating COVID different than the flu. COVID is never leaving. It's going to be endemic on some level in this country and in this world forever. Now, positive side.
So what does that look like if you treat it like the flu in your mind? So like it's just your personal health is what matters, and if you don't feel well enough to play, like Michael Jordan, he had the flu and he played in Game 7 and
it
and
just
won
goes.
the game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you are sick but you feel good enough to go participate in society, you go participate. You know,
Right.
And I mean, that's how. You know, before COVID, it was kind of a badge of honor to like work through, work through something when you're dragging,
Sure.
But
Right.
you can't.
And now you have to report it.
You can't just stop production.
I used to have a business with 15 employees, and we found out that our receptionist girl had the flu. She'd been sick, but one of those troopers, and had it for almost a week. And she went and mingled with everybody, and guess what? We sent her home. She got better in 2 days, and not one single person in the building got it. And I've had the flu once. And
Your entire life?
Twice in my entire life. Once when I was 6, and once when I was probably maybe 35. And you felt like shit for 2 days, and then you get out of bed and drink plenty of fluids and get back at it.
I've had the flu a couple times. It's pretty brutal. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to when I had the flu, the past 7 places I had been didn't need to shut down and lock down there.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Trace, and you call all your friends and let them know you have it. You don't do that with the flu.
No.
Right.
And
Hopefully,
go ahead.
at some point COVID mutates to a point where it's not as virulent for older people, right? Maybe that's what Omicron is. We don't know for sure, but the data out so far suggests in much of the world that Omicron, at least if you look at the South African data, and if you look at the English data, and if you look at the Israeli data, and you look at the early data we're getting in America, is a less virulent and dangerous form of COVID than the Delta variant is. All this talk about variants and mutations has been focused on the idea of the variant or the mutation getting worse. The reality is that very often what ends up happening is the mutation ends up getting less significant, less severe, and then if more people get it,
Weaker.
that can be a pathway out of COVID being where it is now. But the larger context here is we just have to get back to some form of normalcy. How do we get back to some form of normalcy? If you are asymptomatic, you shouldn't be getting tested. I don't know why the NFL needs to test anyone in the NBA and the NHL if they're not symptomatic and feeling poorly.
Right.
If you test positive and you are otherwise healthy, you should be able to play. This shouldn't even be a difficult proposition. If we don't adopt this proposition, then there are going to have to be a ton of games canceled in the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL because COVID's not going away. And because
Just wait till this impacts. This almost did it last year. It almost impacted the national championship game between Ohio State and Alabama. And that's going to be crazy. Like if Alabama, if that happens, what would Nick Saban do in that situation? He can't even play in the national championship because of COVID.
So-
these protocols where these people are perfectly healthy, asymptomatic, and it impacts the game.
So one hole, though, in Clay's logic is he did say that the Delta variant was more dangerous than the Omicron variant, right?
No.
He said that. Like he said the Omicron variant is less dangerous than the Delta variant.
No, it was less dangerous than what they said it was at the time. They thought it was going to be worse than the original, but it turned out not to be. And he said over time it continues to get weaker. I think we've got a new dynamic coming into play with all of this with the politicians. We're talking about billions in revenue between all the professional sports teams.
Oh man, you know what I just thought of is this is going to become a platform
Well,
for like politicians going
yeah.
in the midterm.
Definitely. This is
Look,
Pro-COVID,
political.
anti-COVID.
they've got to let this thing go.
Oh,
I agree with
gosh.
what he said. If you're feeling good and you've tested positive, you want to get in the game, get in the game.
Yeah,
son.
just like LeBron. I mean, he was completely asymptomatic, and they called it a false positive, but he never felt any symptoms, and so he was allowed to go back and play.
Yeah, if you want to go to a hockey game, go to the game. You want to wear a mask, wear one. You don't go or go without a mask. To me, it's just like all bets are off and just stop the madness. It's ridiculous.
I get this feeling, though, from you that you're somewhat very worried about this Omicron, that it could mutate and kill all these people, so we should lock down again.
No, not at all. Like I from what I've heard, my belief is that the Omicron is not as dangerous as the previous variants.
Right.
However, I do believe that COVID in itself has been terrible. I mean, we know people at work who've lost very close family members,
Right.
And I also believe that the Delta variant has caused plenty of problems too. And I believe, I don't pay a lot of attention to the news cycle, but I've also heard that Omicron has not spread much to the United States yet.
Yeah.
So what people are getting is the Delta variant,
To me, one of the most. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, the
want
Delta
to-
variant's still going strong.
I want to acknowledge the risk and dangers of COVID. I want to acknowledge that there are measures that we can take to improve people getting it. However, I am way past doing that at this point is so much more detrimental to society than letting people go back to live their normal lives because, it's swept through. People have built up immunities. The populations have built up immunities, but we've done so much mental health damage to people from what has happened the last couple years. I mean, like not seeing people's faces. I've heard just absolute tragedies about public school kids, what's happening to them.
Right.
You
Hurt
know,
their social skills.
I mean,
I
social
feel that just when I give somebody a hug, like I watch where my
Social
mouth
skills-
is, I'm worried I'm going to breathe on them and hurt their feelings.
I mean, I shook somebody's hand today, like a very professional engagement, and I shook their hand, but I felt like the other guy was like terrified to shake hands. But I mean,
It's so weird.
and so I just want to. I mean, I agree. I kind of am like split on the issue. It's like, yes, it's dangerous. Yes, it's risky. Yes, we can do things about it. Maybe the vaccine reduces, intensity of it. I don't really care. But all that stuff is minuscule to our need to go back and live normal lives again.
Yeah, and mandatory lockdowns are not the answer.
Yeah.
Well, look at everything that has been learned about a man-made virus that kills people. Man-made. In China, in the Wuhan lab. Wait.
Okay.
They made it there. Everybody knows they
Yeah,
did. They've
Fauci
got
paid
proof.
for it.
Yeah.
And they let it out. And they had record number of flights out of China. Kept the people, would not let people go into Wuhan. they blocked Wuhan. They took people out of Wuhan and put them on airplanes and flew them into the United States. Now, personally, I always felt like from all the evidence, the virologists not letting anybody in there, this odd thing, the way the virus acts, everything, they know it was man-made. Everybody said so.
Yeah, gain of
All right,
function.
so now they've learned a lot. And my big fear, I think this is nothing to what's coming. It can be used as a weapon held over the head to say, look, here's how it's going to work from now on.
Yeah.
Because when
if you want to wreck somebody's economy, you just put one of these things out.
Well, China just says, look, we've got something here that we don't want to use, but we have a vaccine for it.
Yeah.
But you see my point. It's opened a whole new era of life.
It's definitely, you look at kind of like terrorist organizations and, we've been so scared about them developing nuclear weapons, but now what are we going to start doing? Are we going to try and stop them from developing viruses?
This is like the hidden killer.
So, and I guess another thing too is you think about antibiotic resistant bacteria. We treated bacteria so much with antibiotics that now we have resistant bacteria. And at what point are we going to make, a resistant virus from trying to continually treat with, I'm talking out my ass here really, but, just kind of speculating. We got an interesting world ahead of us. And if you go back 2 years and look at where we are now, like your head would explode. If I went back to 2019 Christmas time and told myself what was about to happen, even if it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It won't be like 80 years where the 1920 flu of Philadelphia was the last time people were mandated to wear a mask.
Yeah.
You could see this happening again sooner than that.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing that bugs me just on a personal level, we'll never really know how many people the virus did actually take out.
I agree with that.
And that to me is one of the most worrisome things of all, because Uncle Jack, he died of the coronavirus. Well, we didn't realize that Uncle Jack had a defective heart valve, and he was going to go within a year and a half because of a case of the flu. So, but you get my point.
Sprinkle some COVID on them.
Yeah, they got paid. Every COVID death, the hospital reported to the feds, they got extra money to deal with it and buy another ventilator, and they got extra money for treatment.
Every time any impulse is added to any system, somebody's going to figure out a way to take advantage of it.
Amen.
And that's all. I've always kind of enjoyed chaos and disruption, because whenever you have that, it creates opportunity. So
there's even
don't hate the player, hate the game.
Right. Yeah, it's really something. It's too bad. But, let us hear from you. Have you had COVID and not ever felt a symptom? Have you lost a loved one, or someone that got COVID and is quarantined and got better in a week, or someone that stayed sick and got it 3 times? Tell us. We want to know.
Yeah.
Put a comment below. Come to freespeechforum.com. There's a thread on this out there. Everybody's talking about it.
I think something people can agree on is you really can't trust what the media is saying.
Oh, my God.
So you're better off to kind of trust your local community.
And recognize government control, that Biden wants you to be reliant, and the Democrats want you to be reliant on the money they give you and the control and locking you down. And
the narrative changes. Their narrative changes constantly.
Yeah, Nancy goes to the hairdresser while we're all in mask and quarantined.
Right.
Thanks, folks. Always appreciate you watching. Take care.
See you next time.
See you.